Hello, this is David from DN Cognitive Counseling. I hope today I don't look like a floating head. I know that somebody mentioned to me in the last video. Did not realize the black shirt with this new background would cause that effect. So I'm hoping tonight will be a little bit better. We have a question from a patron that asked, when is it appropriate to use medication? And how do you make that decision? And this is a very important question that a lot of people struggle with. So I'm not going to be able to give, this is the parameter that you use, or this is the line that you use, but hopefully I'll give you some generalized questions to ask yourself, and then hopefully you'll be able to make a better decision. First off, the question you'll first want to ask yourself is, how bad is the problem? Is the issue that I'm dealing with so severe that it's affecting my life in a very negative way? A lot of people utilize the aspect of, well, I'm feeling a little depressed or I'm feeling a little anxious, let me get medication. More often than not, if it's a little bit, medication wouldn't be something I would say that you'd strongly recommend. And let me explain to you why. Every time you take a medication and put it into your body, there are possibilities of side effects. That's the case of every medication that exists on the planet. There are no medications that are just completely safe and do nothing to you. So there's always, you have to look at that risk and cost benefit. So is this problem great enough that's causing a problem in my life? Example, if you have diabetes, the reason why you take insulin is not because insulin doesn't do anything bad to your body. It's the lack of the insulin that's going to cause a bigger problem, and we will deal with those other issues because we want you to live a longer life. Same thing with chemotherapy. Nobody says chemotherapy is good for you, but the cancer will kill you faster, therefore you want the chemo to try to elongate and take away the problem in your life. The same is true of psychotropic medication. If your anxiety or your depression is not stopping you from living your life, then medication should not be your first course of action. You should seek a therapist or a mental health professional, psychiatrist or psychologist, in order to help yourself to see whether or not you could deal with the problems with other types of therapy. If they don't work and they continue not to work, well, you have two options. One is say to yourself, well, what's going on? Why is it not working? Am I actually doing the work? A lot of people go into therapy, but you'll notice that sometimes they don't do the follow-through. So what ends up happening is they go into therapy, they listen to the therapist, they have conversations, and then what happens, they don't follow through on the techniques or the ideas, and they go, this is not working. The other thing is that sometimes you do the techniques and they're not working. So that would make the difference in terms of whether I would say at that point medication would be something you might want to consider as a greater response. Now, more importantly, so you said that I think medication would help me. How do I then go and make sure that I'm getting the right medication? Sadly, there is no way to know that. As I say to most of my clients, that anytime we're going in the medication route, you realize that you're a guinea pig. And let me explain what I mean. The doctor has knowledge of how antidepressants work if it's depression, or how anti-anxiety medications work. But what the doctor does not know is what is your neurochemistry. How does your brain specifically work? There's no way for them to know that. So what ends up happening is you go into this to the doctor gives you a medication, it's not working, oh, medications don't work, and people give up. But that's not the case. Many times there are many different types of medications. Certain medications you need to take on a consistent basis to even see the beginnings of an effect. Certain medications do work right away, but you should know whatever medication you're on, when are you expecting to see that effect? By what time? And this is where communication with the person you're working with is so important. You don't want a psychiatrist that minimizes you, that doesn't listen to what you have to say. It's imperative that when you're working with somebody with medication, that they are taking into account everything you're saying to them, how you're feeling, how you're doing, emotional, reactions. One of the things I suggest to many of the people I work with is that they keep a journal. Either if we're dealing with depression, let's example, is keep a mood journal. And during the time period that you're on the medications, you keep track of the changes in mood. If it's anxiety, it's how many attacks, how often, how long it took me to take the medication to take down the effect, and did I need more of the medication to be able to get the effect to come down. All those things are very important. What you want to look for is that you don't want to build up too much tolerance to any specific drug you're on. As medications for painkillers, certain psychotropic drugs can be habit-forming and addictive. Not all, but certain ones. And you have to be aware that sometimes psychiatrists will just continue writing the scripts and not worry about the addiction. So it's very important that you're on the same page as the person you're working with who's prescribing you medication. It's very important that they're listening to you. It's very important that you're working as a team. And what they've shown in study after study is psychotropic medication works best with also therapy. So it's not a matter of, okay, I'm taking the pill, now it's going to cure me. It doesn't work that way. You do want to work on what's going on with you in terms of a therapist at the same time. And the best would be if you can eventually get off the medication. Now, not everybody can. There are certain psychiatric illnesses that right now, the only thing we have to deal with them is medications. There are certain ones that people can develop other tools that then can take them off medications. So it really does depend on your situation. It depends on how much it's affecting your life. It depends on how good of a communicator you are in explaining what's going on with you to the mental health professional that you're working with. But if you feel that you're not being listened to, and you feel that things are not going the right way, then please find yourself somebody else. There are many different therapists out there that work in different ways, and there are many different psychiatrists out there that work in different ways. I've had the privilege of working with, I think it was 16 or 17 psychiatrists so far in my tenure. And I can honestly tell you, there are some really good ones out there, and there's some really not good ones out there. There are ones that will be respectful and listen and actually work with you, and there are ones that could be dismissive and hurtful and just say, just take the medication, just keep it. No matter what, not work, just do what I'm telling you to do. And it's very hurtful. I'll give you one instance of a client who I had a tremendous success with. This happened many, many years ago. And she was in a psychiatric ward, and happens to be I was working with her outside that ward, but she was in there, and I came over, and she saw me, and she was so happy. And we had a good conversation. And when she got out, she tells me, David, I have to tell you, I'm so glad you saw me, because if I didn't see you, I might be dead today. And I asked her what happened. The psychiatrist saw her in the ward and said, you didn't kill yourself in the last night, go home. And he discharged me. And part of me, she said, I wanted to do it at that moment just to show him, really, I'm not in trouble? And ended up happening was she thought and remembered our conversation. And she said it saved her life. She ended up entering the mental health field and actually helping other people. And she was a tremendous success and did very, very well. And I was very proud of her. And sadly, she passed, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. But her story still lives with me and what happened there. And she got herself another psychiatrist that she came out, and she worked with somebody, and she was on medication, and she got and did for herself very well. I really believe in people's ability to make change. Does it mean it's an easy road? No. Does it mean you're going to get it right immediately? No. Does it mean you have to put a lot of effort, sweat, tears? Yes. But it's worth it. And your life is worth it. And you can make an amazing life for yourself. I've watched it happen so many times over the years. So I always say medication is like shooting at a target, but you're blind. So what you're basically doing is you're approximating where you think the target may be, and you're shooting an arrow towards the target. And then you might be totally off, but you could hear the ricochets, and you could hear the ricochets pushing off, and you say, okay, this is not working. Let's work towards this. And you get closer and closer towards your goal. And as long as you don't give up, you're likely to reach it. So I thank you very much for the question. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any other questions about it, please comment below. If you like this video, please hit like. If you disliked it, please tell me why. I always like to get the reasons why somebody doesn't like somebody doesn't like a video, rather than just saying, I don't like it, and I'm not going to tell you why. Because it doesn't give me the ability to either respond or to be able to change something. As I said, the idea of me being a floating head, which I thought was a very interesting way of looking at it, because in seeing the video I understand why they said it, is very helpful to me. And again, if you have a question or concern about it, please, like I said, comment below. And again, please share it with other people because it could be very helpful. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And again, welcome the new subscribers. I'm very touched and honored to have you. And I hope that you'll find this content helpful. And if you yourself have a question, as I said, please, you can also put it in the comments below, and I'll be happy to try to respond. I know I'm behind in comments, and I will be getting to some of them because I wanted to do 2 other videos. I apologize for yesterday not being able to post. And I hope to be able to get some of the questions tomorrow. And again, have a good night and good mental health.